I'm John Eni, Managing Partner at Mex Inc. Today's video, we're going to discuss calculating employee wages and salaries, different taxes that are involved in calculating what is basically the real wage or the real cost of labor in Mexico. So let's begin. It's important to understand that in Mexico, the country is an employee favoring jurisdiction. That means there's an extensive number of safety benefits, social benefits that are due to employees just for the fact that they have a job. But the thing is, we have to calculate those benefits based on a series of formulas that are going to be deducted from the employee's salary on a monthly basis in addition to their income taxes. So basically, when we're looking at employee wages, we have to take into account the two major concepts that are going to involve. One, the income tax, which is going to change in amount depending on the employee's salary, and also Social Security. But there's also different other concepts that have to be taken into account if the employee is eligible. For example, if there's an Infonavit, which is basically a Mexican government-backed housing program. There's Fonacot, which is a program for government-backed personal loans. And then also, there's a state-level payroll tax, which varies between 2 and 3%, and that amount is going to change from state to state. But when we take into account all of these three concepts, the Social Security, the income taxes, and also the state-level taxes, then we're going to have an idea about the real cost of labor in Mexico. All right. So first of all, the main thing is what we're going to do in order to find out the real cost, we're going to add the Social Security amounts, the basic safety net amounts that have to be calculated and paid, to the income taxes that have to be paid by the employee based on the amount of their salary, and that's going to give us the cost of labor, the real what the actual cost of the labor is. Now, the majority of Social Security is going to be paid by the employer, whereas the income tax is going to be paid by the employee, but there's sort of varying percentages depending on the amount of the employee's salary. So let's take a closer look at Social Security in particular, right? So the basic social safety net that comes under the umbrella of IMSS, Social Security deductions, is going to include payments and deductions for sickness and maternity leave, retiree medical cost, disability and life insurance, retirement, unemployment, and childcare. So at the end of the day, when you look at these calculations, you're going to see that the employee has to pay about between 2.75 or 3% of their salary as far as the Social Security contributions, while the employer is going to pay about 31% when everything is said and done with the totals that have to be deducted. Let's move on to income taxes, right? We're going to take the Social Security and then we're going to add the income taxes to find out the total cost of the labor. So Mexico utilizes a progressive income tax rate system, which is going to vary depending on, it's going to increase as the employee's salary increases. For lower income workers, there's going to be an income tax subsidy, which is going to offset the amount that's actually going to be due. But I guess overall, what we can look at is to give you an idea about the ranges that are going to be paid. Right? If someone's making below 5,000 pesos a month, their progressive income tax rate is going to be 6.4%. If their employee is making a salary of 24,000 pesos, their income tax rate progressive is going to be 23%. And then you have the higher end workers. These are people who are going to be making 290,000 pesos per month. They're going to have an income tax progressively of about 35%. Okay, now and these are going to be separated into different tax brackets that are going to apply various percentages based on the income. And so let's take a look at somebody who's making 40,000 pesos per month. Okay, and so what you'll see is the first thing that we're going to look at is the total amount that's going to be paid for by the employee, and then the second section of what we're going to look at is the total amount that's going to be paid by the employer. So for 40,000 pesos per month, the income tax rate, considering our table right here, is going to be 7,765 pesos and 85 cents per month. And then, of course, their IMSS retention, that is the part that's going to correspond to the employee to make the contribution. Remember, it's split between the employer and the employee and the employer. So the IMS retention is going to be 1,166 pesos. Okay, so in total, the employee's net take-home after all that is said and done is going to be 31,067 pesos. Right at the end of the day. Now, once we take a look at the employer contributions, you'll see that they're going to be more substantial in certain ways. Let's take a look. The base salary is 40,000 pesos. The IMSS contribution to the employer would be 3,685. Now, when we include within that umbrella of IMSS, we take a look at the Infonavit payment for the which is the government-backed housing program. Another contribution of 4,792 pesos. So we add those two up when we get the total amount, roughly the total amount that the employer is going to be contributing on behalf of the employee in terms of taxes and payroll deductions. Now, in addition to that, you're also going to have the payroll tax, which is going to be due at the state level. That is, of course, as I said, between 2 and 3%. For the sake of the example here, we've used the state of Jalisco, where our headquarters is located, and the applicable rate is 2%, and that amount for a person making 40,000 pesos is 800 pesos. So at the end of the day, the total cost of a person who is making this amount, the total cost of labor is going to be 49,277 pesos. Okay, so as you can imagine, if you want somebody's real take-home income to be at a certain amount, you actually have to pay them significantly higher than that amount in order to take into account the deductions for IMSS from the employer, from the employee, and also from the income taxes. So hopefully this gives you an idea about that. In addition, from an administrative standpoint, this is where things get a little bit tricky. I think one of the most important things is to pay your Social Security on time. The manner in which you do that is a little bit cumbersome. All right, because one, the Social Security is paid in a bi-monthly and also a monthly way, and so the contributions that are made on the month are slightly different or calculated differently than the calculations that are made bi-monthly, and also the payments for Social Security versus income taxes have to be made to their respective government agencies. So you have to make one contribution, one payment directly to Social Security based on all the calculations that need to be done, okay? And then for income taxes, they have to be paid directly to the Mexican Tax Authority, which is called the SAT. And you know, the manner of doing that and the frequency of doing that just varies. So, you know, being aware of that is very important. Not getting behind on making those payments is very important. And the reason is, especially when we're talking about Social Security, the authorities, even if you're just a few days late on the Social Security payments for the contributions for employees, they will literally come and knock on your door. And if you don't pay that within 48 hours, you'll enter into a process called execution, where they will go and they'll come and they'll look at the furniture and take the value of the furniture and the non-essential, you know, goods for operating the business that are on the premises, and they'll take that into valuing against what's due to the government. So basically, you know, the process can be a bit cumbersome. Everything needs to be administered correctly and timely. I'm John Eni, Managing Partner at MexiCinc. Contact us. Let us know if we can help you.